Hi everyone, this is Diane. This is another segment of the series of my favorite journal making supplies. And this one is, well, this one is dear to my heart. Well, they all are because I love making journals and I love all of the supplies that go with making journals. But this is fabrics, textiles. That was my first love for crafting. I was a sewer when I was a teenager and ever since. And I'm not a great seamstress. My sister and my mother are. But I really enjoy making things. And I used to sew my own clothing, my children's clothing. And I've made stuffed toys. And I've done all kinds of things with fabric. And now I get to incorporate my love of fabric with my love of paper in my journals. So I am going to be talking about the types of fabrics that I use in my journals. And some of these fabrics are used for covers. Some are for, I can use them for pockets, fabric flips, fabric clusters, all kinds of things that ruffles. So each thing might be used for multiple purposes, and some might do better for a certain purpose than others would. So let's just start. I have my 10 favorite categories of fabrics. Yes, 10 categories. So I'm going to start with the one I use most often, and that is just a cotton printed fabric. So here I have, and I will also talk about where I get these fabrics. Some of them, I think this one I got from the remnant bin at Walmart. Fabric stores might have remnant bins. Joann's does have a remnant section, and the price on them might seem high, but then they take, I think it's half off at the register. And they're bigger pieces usually than this, but I have a harder time getting the remnant pieces at Walmart anymore. But I think that is one. So remnant pieces are good at the fabric stores. Also, I get them at flea markets. Some of them are old or vintage fabrics and some are newer. But I do often find fabrics at flea markets. This bundle I actually got at an estate sale. So I did want to mention that some of the fabrics that I get are parts of collections. So this is all Dick and Jane fabric. It's got threads everywhere. These are a Dick and Jane fabric. Well, those two are the same. And there were, I don't know, 4, 5 different patterns of this collection. And I got them at an estate sale. So sometimes I will purchase a collection. Sometimes I get the collection new off the bolt and I have it cut. Like this one. This had the pretty roosters with the French provincial design. And I think some of these patterns came with that collection, and then I added others that went well with it. I do that sometimes when I'm putting together a collection, and then I will sell fat quarters of the collection, and I always keep some for myself. So that's what this was. You can get novelty fabrics, which I also got this at the same estate sale. So a novelty fabric would be something with a print on it with pictures of a specific image. So this is the Dolly Dingle paper dolls. And this one is a peacock fabric, which I ordered. I had this cut from the bolt too, I think. Oh, I know, this was a remnant. I got a small remnant of it, and then, I don't know, but anyway, I had it cut. I had a remnant, and then I had it cut from the bolt too, because I will be making a peacock journal, and this would be great in bohemian journals, and I just love the colors of the flowers and everything. So sometimes I either look for specific novelty prints, or I just see one that catches my eye and I go for it. But I don't normally have pieces cut from the bolts for my journals. I usually find them in remnant bins or flea markets or estate sales. I don't hardly ever find fabric in my thrift store. I know some of you do. Some of you have fabric sewing sections. My thrift store isn't that big. But like I said, once in a while I do splurge and get some pieces cut. This was from a flea market, I believe. That's a cute one. And these were from flea markets. So These were also a recent purchase from a flea market. So I get all kinds of fabrics from flea markets. I also make sure that I have some more neutral type of things, like the pattern is neutral, not the colors. Polka dots, checks, stripes. This one is mottled. But you need something so that if you're making a fabric flip and you want the pattern on the top to be the focal point, you don't want something competing with it in the back, so you use something more like that sometimes. And even if you're piecing fabric together for a cover, you need some to rest your eye. You can't have competing florals and pictures and stuff all the time. You need something a little more calm. This is another example of a collection. These were Pioneer Woman fabrics that I got at Walmart, and I recently made journal covers out of these, and they were so fabulous, and I still have quite a bit left, and I had made fat quarters with that. Here's another kind of a novelty print with the windows. This was a splurge along with these pieces, and I got these from an Etsy store. I don't remember. I've had them for a long time, and I don't remember where I got them, but I was specifically looking for these kind of big, beautiful florals in the colors that I love. So I found these at one Etsy shop. So these were a splurge. I don't even remember how much is in each piece. I've used some pieces of it, but I kind of hoard them, but you know, I splurged on them so I could use them in journals. I should use them in journals. And this was another splurge. I got this at a quilt shop when I was with my friend, and it's I got actually several layer cakes while I was at this quilt shop, and they are not cheap. They're Moda fabrics. So I've used pieces of them. I still keep them in their stacks with the cardboard in between them, so I keep them straight. But I have used pieces out of each of these layer cakes. And this one is my favorite. It's Flea Market Fresh. And I just got some of this in a Happy Mail. And it's the Flea Market Fresh collection that the person was cutting up. So she sent me, she's not making journals anymore, so she sent me some of her supplies. And then I got yardage. I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 yards, but I love this. And I haven't used it yet. But I am going to, I promise. So that's a splurge. So once in a while I treat myself because I love fabric. And it's just so much fun for me to pick out fabrics. So that was a lot to talk about with the cotton prints. Next, how about sheets, vintage sheets? I find them quite often at the flea markets, and if there's a pattern on them that I really like, which is usually a floral, and I want it to look vintage, then I will get them. I wash them really well, and then I really enjoy using them on spines, fabric flips, putting pieces together to make covers, tearing them into strips for ruffles or ties around a journal. So here's just some examples. And pillowcases. This is a pillowcase. And I just love the ones that are vintage. This one is a flannel baby one with some cute little ducks on it. I just grabbed a bunch out of my drawer that has sheet fabric in it. Sometimes the borders on the top of the sheet or the pillowcase are just gorgeous like that. So I like the florals, as you can see. Next, number 3 is linens and doilies. If you've watched my channel much at all, you will see that I often find linens at flea markets in various sizes. So these are tiny little coasters up into napkin size, and placemats and doilies like dresser scarves, table runners, and even big tablecloths. This was part of a tablecloth. And the little doily type of things that people would put on their end tables and have a little candy dish or a lamp sitting on it. And this was a chair cover, but it was never put on the chair. I got a set of 4 of them at a flea market. So these are all embroidered linens. You can also get, just a plain linen with maybe lace around the outside, or any type of linen that you like. You can find a way to use it. This is very old piece. And handkerchiefs, I'll include that in that category. I don't spend a lot on the handkerchiefs. I usually don't like to pay more than $1. If they're really special, sometimes I do. And sometimes I get like a bundle of them so that they're less than $1 each. But it depends on your area. I know I'm very fortunate in my area for flea markets and such, but my thrift stores leave a lot to be desired. I only have one in my town, and it really doesn't have much that I get. But I'm so fortunate with the flea market side of things. Muslin is the next category. This one is, I don't think this is actually muslin, but it's a thicker, but a cream colored neutral. So you can copy dye these. This one is an unbleached muslin, I believe. But you can copy dye. I keep some copy dyed and some plain. But you can use them for all kinds of things. You can stamp on them, dye them, embroider on them. Just make a lot of embellishments with them. Muslin, you can't go wrong with muslin. Number 5 are the sari fabrics. So if you bought a sari dress, sari costume, with the pants and the dress and all the stuff that goes with them, there's so much to one of those outfits. I don't find those outfits around here, but I have gotten sari fabrics from various sources. You can get them from Etsy, you can get them from eBay. I got some in Happy Mails, so I've gotten some from a couple different sellers online, and I've also gotten some from eBay. This one I think was in a Happy Mail, and I don't think it's from a sari, but I put it in with my Bohemian fabrics. It's a really beautiful quilted, like a satiny quilted fabric. And so I just put it with my Bohemian stuff because that's what it looks like to me. And this was in a Happy Mail. It's a gorgeous piece. Lots of embroidery, and it's beautiful, supple fabric. This is more typical of a sari fabric. So some of them have beautiful colors. Some of them have metallics, metallic threads, embroidery, sequins, even little gems, jewels. There's this one. There's a lot of sheer fabrics with sari fabric. There's a sheer. And the kantha quilts are also from India. They are cotton fabrics with prints on them, and there are 2 or 3 layers stitched together with these long stitches. And you can really make fun journal covers and things with these. And along with those are the pieces that are cut off, the really decorative pieces that are cut off the saris. Beautiful. So I have this whole box full of these, and I have some more too that I didn't bring in. So that's the sari collection of fabrics. Next, number 6 is Decorator Fabrics. That could be upholstery fabric or curtain fabric. You can often find pieces at flea markets, thrift stores. If you look in your thrift store, you can look at the table linens and curtains and things and see if there's a fabric that you would, something you would cut up and use. This is just a decorator fabric. I don't know if it was made for curtains or to cover a chair or something, but it's got a print, a really cool vintage print on it. This one might be a chair, an upholstery fabric. Just a nice little early American type of plaid or something, Americana. This one's more like a embroidered brocade or something, not brocade, but it's just an embroidered upholstery fabric, and it's so pretty. I think I got this in a Happy Mail, and it's long and narrow, so I won't make a journal cover out of it, but I could use pieces of it. I could use it to make part of a journal cover. That's what I'm trying to say. So I got these at a flea market on a round heavy-duty cardboard tube. This one is fuzzy. It's got this beautiful scene on it. I thought it would make a pretty journal cover. And this one is like a corduroy. It's got whales, but it's not corduroy. It's also fuzzy. That's fun. And then this one is a brocade. Isn't that pretty? And tapestry. Of course, tapestry. These make gorgeous journal covers. There's a couple different patterns here. So those are Decorator Fabrics. Number 7, I'm calling Farmhouse Vintage. And these are things I find at flea markets. And for Farmhouse Vintage, I'm thinking of aprons, tablecloths, and feed sacks. Those types of things. So you can cut little pieces out of the decorative tablecloths and napkins and things. This came from an apron, I believe. I cut all of these little folk art pieces out of, I had a little tablecloth, and then somebody sent me a towel that matched. Just an old linen towel. Yeah, that was the other thing. Linen towels. So these are cut from a placemat or a tablecloth. And the linen calendars that people hung on their walls. So I cut them apart, and this makes a fun element in a collage or something. You can find the cutest little designs on the old tablecloths. I love the folk art ones. This one's fun with the houses on it. You can find some beautiful appliqued floral tablecloths. These aren't as old. I love the printed ones. I love this green. I think this would make a gorgeous journal cover, don't you? Here's another dish towel, I think, with crocheted edging. Oh, I think this was a curtain, actually. Looks like a kitchen curtain. I cut part of it off. There's another piece. These are just great. They often have stains because they were used as tablecloths, but you can include the stain on it or cut around them. Coffee dye it to help disguise the stain. This was the curtain that those roosters came off. Just so many fun. This was a piece of fabric that my mother used as a picnic tablecloth. And I found it when they moved, and I kept it. She didn't want it. This is a cute little appliance cover. I cut it apart, but it can see the piping. It's actually embroidered. But it was, I don't know if it was a blender cover or what, but this was the shape of it, so it was probably a blender cover. And it's faded, but it had roosters and flowers on it. It's really cute. Here's a beautiful old kitchen. Pink and turquoise and the gray and black. It's just a really striking pattern, and I think it was a tablecloth, a homemade tablecloth, and the binding wasn't sewn on it very well. That was not an expert seamstress. But this one's really fun. And I love this one. That was a recent find. And an apron. So with aprons, if you're going to cut the apron apart, a lot of times I sell the aprons as they are because people want to collect them. But when I do cut them apart, I love to use the pockets. This is a really big pocket, but the pockets are what I love on this apron. So that would make a really great cover for a journal. But I do like the pockets, especially if they're smaller. I just cut right around the fabric so that it's still attached to the apron, and then I would sew it into a domestic arts journal or something. And then sometimes I take off the ties and use them to tie around a journal. Maybe sew the two pieces together to make the tie longer. But this is a really nice apron, and I really have a hard time with cutting that apart. And then the feed sack fabrics, or the bags. You can find these fun bags that used to have flour and stuff in them. This was flour milled from choice western hard wheat for all baking purposes. And I have made journal covers with these types of bags. This one is another flour bag. Looks pretty old. I know I made some farmers market journals with this. Somebody sent me a stack of these in a Happy Mail. And I love the colors on them. Some of them are thinner. This one is a thicker fabric, and it's a nice big bag, and I love the corn on it. I've got to think of something fun to do with that. And I like the stamping at the top too. I would cut that out and use it in the journal somehow. And on the back, so I could get several journal covers out of this. I could use this and the printing and cut this up into different pieces and use it. And even this part with no printing on it. There's just so much to use in this piece. So all of that is in the category that I call Farmhouse Vintage. Number 8 is chenille. I didn't bring much chenille in here with me, but I do have quite a few pieces of chenille. I have found some at flea markets, like the big chenille bedspreads, and then cut them up, and I sell pieces and then keep pieces. But I haven't been even looking at the chenille bedspreads at the flea markets because I don't really want to go to the work of cutting them up and selling them. But then people have sent me pieces, especially Sarah. She sent me batches of a big variety. This was one I bought at a flea market. So I have a variety of smaller pieces. Some of them are bigger than this, but it's really nice to have an assortment of different colors and designs on your chenille. So these were usually bedspreads. I used to have a chenille bedspread when I was young, and it was a ballerina. Number 9 is leather, but it's in quotes because I do have some real leather, but I didn't bring it in. But it's like little scraps of leather that I have that I haven't done anything with, but I really should. These are fake leather, but these make great bindings on a book, on the spine, I mean. And you can make pockets out of them, and you could use them for making flowers, clusters. I know I have used these 3 for spines. I don't know if I've used the navy blue one. And some of these I got as remnants. This one was a remnant. I think all of these were remnants actually, because I don't ask to have this cut off the bolt. I just get it as remnants. So that was number 9. So now well, I guess we have a bonus because I didn't write this one down on my list. And this one is patchwork. So what I wrote down as number 10 is going to be our bonus. So, patchwork. This is a store-bought, not vintage. Is it a pillow cover? Nope. So it's just a mat. I washed it, so it needs to be ironed. It's like a table mat. So it's a log cabin in early American design. So this would be really fun to make a journal cover. Just like that. It's already lined. It would be fun. You could cut a slit in it somewhere and put some cardstock or something in there to make it a little sturdier if you wanted to. I have some patchwork that was never put into a quilt, never pieced together, that I could have fun with. This would make a good journal cover, or smaller pieces. You could cut it to make pockets and flips and things. Here's a one that's not as... There's another piece, but this one isn't as old. It's little diamond. They're square shapes, but they're sewn together like diamonds. So that could be used. And I find things like these at flea markets, quilt pieces. I have bought some from Selena at Amour Fabrics on Etsy, some quilted pieces, and I'll show you them in just a second. I think this one is from Selena, and she cut them into pieces that you could use as a book cover. There's one, and they were put into a bundle. So this one would have the flowers on the back, or I could cut it in half and then have the flower go this way and then sew the other piece to that end. This one's gorgeous. And this is one that I bought. It's very worn, but I love the colors, and it's soft. It's got stains on it. It's just soft, and I just think it would make a really nice journal cover. So these all have the batting, but they're old and the batting is thin. Love this quilt right here. I bought this at a flea market, and I bought this one at a flea market. And then this one is pieced together, but it wasn't ever backed. Doesn't have any batting, backing, binding, or anything. It's just the pieces. And this needs to be ironed because I washed it when I brought it home. I just got this one a couple weeks ago. But it's got a lot of pieces that I can cut and use. It wasn't pieced very well. It's got puckers, and you know, it wasn't an expert quilter that made it, but I love the color combinations. I just think this quilt is so fun. So I will definitely be using that. And then the bonus is pieces of fabric, like little pieces. And I find them at flea markets cut into different shapes. Usually they're squares. But I got some diamond shapes, and these were sent to me in a Happy Mail. And that's really great because that's something you don't find all the time. And I got these in a Happy Mail a couple of years ago, and she sent me a whole stack of them. And I love these things. I use them a lot. I just love the little pieces that someone cut. Some of them are sewn together. So that's two triangles sewn together. And sometimes you'll just find a couple squares sewn together. So they're fun to use also. Here are just some triangle shapes that I got at a flea market. I believe I got them at a flea market. And I get some circle shapes sometimes. Those are little circles. I like them. Some more triangles. And the sewn together pieces. And then I just bought a week or so ago this bag with the little squares, and this bag of hearts came with it. I love these. These were not something that somebody cut. These were manufactured. They were die cut probably in a factory and sold in a quilt shop, I would say, probably. But I got a stack of them, little heart shapes. So this is a great find. And somebody sent me this in a Happy Mail, and I sent it right in this little box, and it's just a box full of squares of fabric, and there were some strips in the back of it, and I already moved them out, but I just keep them in here. And yeah, I really enjoy getting into my little pieces and using them. Also, along with that, I have fabric strips. Some of these came out of that box. Just strips of fabric. Oh, that's a, what do you call it? When you snippet roll. And just some fabric strips that I can use when I want strippy pieces. So this little basket is full of strips, and this is on a roll. It's bias cut. I got that at a rummage sale, I think. Quite a few years ago now. And one more thing in this category would be the yo-yos. So I have newer yo-yos that I got from an Etsy seller in a couple different sizes. I got them a few years ago. I don't know who it was. And I got these fabric flowers at an estate sale. And I think these are part of that. Some of those that weren't finished. So these kinds of things are fun. And then this was a yo-yo quilt that was damaged, falling apart. I cut it into smaller pieces and washed it. And I just take off whatever yo-yos I want to use. So I love the vintage yo-yos. So that's it. That's what I brought in here with me. That was 10 categories plus the bonus of the little pieces of fabrics that I like to use for my journals. I hope that you learned something from that. Were inspired to get out your supplies. Sometimes it's inspiring for me to just get everything out and show it to you. And I think, oh yeah, I really, really, really want to use that. So hopefully it's helping to spark some inspiration in you, just seeing my supplies. So if you keep watching my channel, I am sure that you will see some of these items being used in a journal project. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series of my favorite supplies, and I've got a lot more to show you. So I'll see you in the next one. I hope you're having a creative day today. Bye-bye.